40 years ago, you could stand on the shores of Lake Mead and watch children splash in water that sat just a few feet below a concrete boat ramp. Today, that same boat ramp ends in thin air, hanging over cracked, bleached earth 30, 40, sometimes 60 feet above the waterline. That image alone should stop every American over the age of 55 cold in their tracks. But here is the number that matters most tonight. 1,048.03 feet above sea level. That is the official gauge reading at Lake Mead as of 4 o'clock this morning, Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. The lake dropped another 0.15 feet since yesterday. And before you tell yourself that sounds small, let me give you the physical reality behind that fraction. Lake Mead's surface area has shrunk dramatically, sitting a staggering 180.97 feet below its full pool of 1,229.0 feet. A vertical drop of 0.15 feet across that surface represents billions, with a B, billions of gallons of water gone in a single day, and summer has barely cleared its throat. What I want to do tonight is something the cable news channels and the environmental websites are not doing. I want to connect the dots between that number on a gauge at a Nevada dam and the dollar figures you are seeing on your electric bill, your grocery receipt, and the assessed value of your home. Because those dots are absolutely connected, and the people who understand the connection right now are the ones who will protect themselves over the next decade. Let me take you somewhere most people never look. Deep inside the Hoover Dam, there are 17 main generating units, enormous spinning turbines powered by nothing more than water pressure and gravity. When the lake sits full, near 1,229 feet, the weight of that water column creates enormous force pushing through the intake pens. Those turbines spin effortlessly and produce electricity so cheaply it has historically been the backbone of affordable power across Nevada, Arizona, and California for generations. But physics does not negotiate. As the water level falls, the pressure falls with it. Right now at 1,048 feet, those turbines are running at significantly reduced efficiency. The dam is producing electricity the way a car engine runs on 3 cylinders instead of 6. It is still moving, but it is straining, burning more to deliver less. And here is the part that never makes the headline. When Hoover Dam underperforms, the Western grid does not just accept the shortage. Regional utilities go out on the open energy market and buy replacement power. Natural gas. Wholesale electricity. Whatever is available. And that replacement power costs 2, 3, sometimes 4 times more per unit than the hydropower it is replacing. That premium does not disappear into thin air either. It lands on your bill. It landed on your bill last summer. It is going to hit harder this summer. And nobody is sending you a letter explaining exactly why. Now I want to show you something that is genuinely hidden in plain sight. A story about water that completely reframes who actually uses it. Every time this conversation happens on television, somebody points a finger at Las Vegas swimming pools or Phoenix golf courses. And every time, that finger is pointing at the wrong target. Here is what the peer-reviewed data actually shows. Roughly 80% of every single drop of water diverted from the Colorado River goes to agriculture. Not cities. Not suburbs. Agriculture. And within that agricultural share, a strikingly large portion goes to growing alfalfa, hay, forage crops. Water-saturated plants grown under the direct sun of one of the hottest, driest places on Earth. Now here is the part that should genuinely make you pause. A significant volume of that desert-grown alfalfa does not feed American livestock. It gets compressed into bales and loaded onto container ships bound for Saudi Arabia, China, and the United Arab Emirates. Nations that have deliberately chosen to import water-intensive agriculture rather than drain their own limited freshwater resources are effectively using the Colorado River through a trade loophole. American farmers are caught in the middle of this, working within a legal system that punishes efficiency and rewards maximum consumption. This is where the blue ocean thinking becomes essential. Because the answer to this crisis is not smaller showers and brown lawns. The answer is redesigning the entire incentive structure around water. Consider what is happening quietly in Arizona right now. For over 2 decades, Arizona water managers have been doing something almost nobody talks about at dinner tables. They have been pumping surplus water during wet years deep into underground aquifers, essentially building an invisible savings account beneath the desert floor. Water stored underground does not evaporate. It does not get claimed by another state. It sits there, banked, waiting. Arizona currently holds over 20 million acre-feet in underground storage credits built up through this program. That is a decade plus of insurance built not through restriction, but through forward engineering. Nevada did something similarly bold, recognizing that Lake Mead could someday reach critically low levels. Southern Nevada Water Authority spent $1.4 billion drilling what engineers call the third straw, an intake tunnel at the absolute bottom of the lake at 860 feet, below the existing intake structures, below even the deadpool threshold of 895 feet. Las Vegas, a city the world mocks for fountains and excess, will be one of the last cities standing with access to water if this situation deteriorates to its worst possible scenario. That is not luck. That is 50 years of serious infrastructure planning by people who read the data and acted on it before the emergency arrived. The states that did not plan that way are the ones facing the sharpest exposure right now. Here is what I want every person watching who is 55 or older to genuinely think about. If you own property in the Southwest, the water security classification of your specific municipality is now a financial variable in the same category as property tax rates and school district ratings. Communities with underground storage credits, advanced wastewater recycling programs, and diversified supply portfolios are going to hold their value and their services through this decade. Communities that rely entirely on surface water deliveries from the Colorado River, with no backup infrastructure and no stored reserves, are heading into a period of rate shocks, service disruptions, and the kind of quiet population exodus that precedes property value softening. This is not fear-mongering. This is infrastructure math. And it is the exact same logic that smart real estate investors have used for generations to identify which markets age well and which ones do not. There is also a policy clock ticking that most Americans have no idea exists. The federal drought guidelines that govern how Lake Mead and Lake Powell are operated expire on December 31st of this year, less than 7 months from tonight. The Bureau of Reclamation has forced all 7 basin states back to the negotiating table to write a replacement framework from scratch. The talks are stalled. Upper basin states refuse to accept mandatory cuts. Lower basin states refuse to yield their senior rights. And while the politicians argue, the lake drops 0.15 feet per day, every day, through a desert summer. What gets agreed upon, or not agreed upon, in those negotiations will shape water policy, energy costs, agricultural output, and real estate markets across the entire American West for the next 20 to 30 years. This is the single most consequential domestic policy negotiation most people have never heard of, and it concludes in 6 months. Stay close to this channel, because I am tracking that gauge, those negotiations, and those numbers every single week between now and December. If tonight gave you a clearer picture of what is actually at stake, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this information reach the people who genuinely need it. Subscribe so you do not miss a single update as we head into the most critical summer this reservoir has seen. Share this with someone you know who owns property or has retirement savings in the Southwest. And leave a comment below telling me your city and state. Tell me what you are seeing on your utility bills. Tell me whether your local water district has said anything. I read every single comment, and your observations from the ground help shape what we cover next. The data is real. The stakes are real. And you deserve to understand both.